Good morning, everybody. This is Lonnie with Valley Borderline. I'm going to do a video today. We have actually two jobs we're doing today that are stamped with rollers. Then we have another one that's just regular gray. But we don't do a lot of rollers anymore, just with all the aggressive stamp textures that we have with different mats and different things that we're doing and offering. So I thought it'd be a good day to do some videos on just doing some roller stuff. That, buddy? Okay, so they'll do their final little trowel on that, fix it up, do a finishing trowel on that, and so on. You can see now we're rolling a storm gray on. What Andrew's doing on that end is putting in about a half a pound of a buff color in there, which is a harvest. It's kind of like a goldish color. Okay, and then what we're doing with this is we're rolling on our secondary color, which is going to be our release. In this case, it's storm gray. And then you can see Andrew's rolling this. We're not changing the mix at all, not doing anything different. The mixes are really soft, and so it's going to be easy. When you're doing this type of system here, the way we teach everybody to do this is your release is going to be the main color of the curb. Okay, so 80% of this curb is going to be a dark gray. When it all cures out, you'll be able to see those gold colors underneath. I don't let the customer pick out the integral color. We pick that out. They have to pick out the release because that's the main color of the curb that we have to be concerned about. Okay, so they've rolled on that powder. He's gone ahead and stamped it. They go ahead and cut all their joints. They roll the joints, not those type of joints. And then he's just misting mineral spirits or paint thinner. Really essentially the same thing. We use paint thinner because it's cheaper, and then they're misting that. Now that's going to liquefy that color. We call that burning the curb. Okay, that doesn't burn the curb into the color into the curb. It's not doing anything like that. What it's doing is that powder will only mix with a solvent, which is a paint thinner. Okay, so we're going to liquefy that powder. We'll blow all the excess off. We don't want all that excess on there. We're going to go ahead and mist that, and so that powder now gets liquefied. That solvent, which is paint thinner, you're basically doing that ahead of time before you seal. So I'm going to save money on sealer by burning that in, okay? Because if I don't, and I leave all that powder on there, I blow it off and there's still powder on there, if I seal it, the solvent that's in the sealer, okay, because it's a solvent-based sealer, will then have to liquefy that powder. Okay, so it typically takes you an extra pass or two with your sealer to get that to liquefy, to get that powder to, get that to soak in there. Okay, so what you're doing when you're burning that is actually just taking that step away. We're using an $8 a gallon paint thinner instead of that $35 a gallon sealer to basically liquefy that powder. Okay, so that's the whole process of burning that curb. It's not getting that color into the concrete and all that. It's the step that we're taking out to save us money on sealer. Now, when this starts to dry, and you can see this curb over here already, we did this 20 minutes ago, it's starting to dry already. Okay, when that's dry in the sunlight, it'll take 10 minutes. I can start sealing that right now. Okay, there's no reason to come back and seal anything. You don't have to seal this with a roller. You get a high pressure chafing sprayer and seal that, and I'll go through the sealers that we use after. But once this is dry, it's sealed. We're not coming back to seal anything and do all that. It's all can be done the same day. This process here. Okay, now the pink liquid, for those of you that are just starting to watch these videos, okay, is what we call Kanga piss. It is a troweling lubricant. It also acts as evaporation control, so it allows your concrete to keep the moisture a little bit longer so you can finish this. Now, he's misted that over, and we've used a normal flared trowel. It's got a flare on the front, got a flare on the back to make our first run, okay? If he needs to do any fixing with that, a rock gets in the curb, there's something going on with that, then he can go back and forth with it. The second trowel is a finishing trowel. It does not have a flare on the back. So you mist it again with the lubricant, and you go straight forward with that, and it gets it super smooth because there's no flare on the back. Okay, that's why we have 2 trowels on the curb. Now, once that's troweled, he's rolling this powder on right away. Okay, that doesn't mix with water. It can't stick to the curb. It doesn't work like that. Okay, it's a release powder. Okay, and then he'll go ahead and he'll roll that stamp right over the top. You know, fix anything he needs to. You can see there's a little bump there. Okay, so they'll roll it, they'll blow it off, they'll cut all the joints, roll all the joints, and then he's going to go ahead and burn that, and so on. This stamping like this with rollers, you know, for me, I'm pretty fortunate. I got 5 guys here. Okay, I got 2 trucks, 2 trailers with, I mean, we lay a lot of curb in a day. For us with 5 guys, this does not take us essentially any longer than normal regular grade curb, because we can only go as fast as he can mix. Okay, we want those mixes perfect. So if he has to take a little bit more time to get those mixes perfect, fantastic. These guys have plenty of time on the ground to do what they need to do. We are still doing everything exactly the same for drainage. Okay, no matter if it's stamped, carved, whatever kind of curb you're putting in. Okay, we have a downspout coming here. Now this water from the downspout is going to go that way because it's downhill. It's going to go to the left. That's fine. This downspout is supposed to be extended over the curb when the curb is done and dry. That's their responsibility, but we put a drain here anyway in case they forget. Okay, in this case the water is going to go that way. In that case the water is going to go towards the street, so we're going to be safe up here, so it's not going to be a big issue. Down at the bottom here, we're going downhill. All the water is going to settle at the bottom of this little thing he's got going on here, so that's something that we have to be aware of. I'll go through the 3 methods of doing your release. Okay, what we do and what we teach is the paint roller method. It's not messy. You know, you get a lot of release onto the curb without having any splotchiness. It's all an even color, and it's very, very easy to do. There's also the dip and roll method, where you're going to take that stamp, you dip it in the bucket release powder, you'd roll it a foot or 2, you would put some of that release in there, and then it would get really, you know, you have a dark spot and you have a light spot, and you do it again, the time and effort to do that takes a lot longer than this. Plus you have a lot of splotchiness, and there's places without color and there's places with more color, and you know, that's the dip and roll method. Your last method is basically what we were taught 20 years ago, is to grab a handful of release and throw it on the curb. So you got release everywhere as a big waste, release all over their grass and so on. And in some of those cases too, you're gonna get splotchiness, some areas where there's less, some areas where there's more. If it's really windy out, it's hard to get that to go, and it's you know, kind of a pain. If you're going to do this method, all right, you have to let the customer know whatever the release powder is going to be the main color of the curb, because look at how much release is being pushed into that curb. Storm gray, which is a medium gray, is going to be 80% of this curb color. That's why it's very, very important for them to pick out that color. The color in the mix, the integral color, is 20% maybe. Okay, so this curb is going to be nice and dark, and then when you look at it look at it close, you're going to see those light golds underneath. That is what we're doing here. They don't get to choose the integral color. That's my choice. Okay, because the most important color is the release, the way we do this. So if you're going to do it this method, you know, roll it on with a paint roller, you need to let your customers know that's the main color of the curb. Some guys complain, oh, it's way too dark and things like that. That is the method that you're using. You're gonna have a really nice dark color, and it looks like you're spending a lot more money on the curb when typically, essentially, you're not. You're just rolling that powder on, and it's nice even color. Okay, we're going to be finishing this up. You can see how this is drying already. Okay, this can be sealed. There's some areas that are actually still wet, like over there. It's a little wet yet. If a rainstorm was coming and I wanted to seal this right away, that's not going to be an issue because that'll evaporate through the sealer. Okay, but so this is starting to dry. By the time we clean up, I'll be able to seal that. Now, what we do with our sealer and our sprayer, every job that we're going to use the sprayer on, we make sure that we fill it up about halfway at the beginning of the job, and we stick the tip in a can of xylene. That xylene is going to dissolve anything that was left on that tip from the day before. Okay, you don't have to clean out your sealer can every single time you use it, putting xylene in there, cleaning it out. That's not something you have to do. As long as it's closed and you don't leave it under pressure, typically I'll clean the top of that maybe twice a season. Okay, you don't have to empty that out, put xylene through it and all that, because once you put xylene through there a whole bunch of times, you're actually ruining all the seals in there because it eats up all the seals. So leave it closed, release all the pressure, hold that wand up in the air, okay, and open up the handle. All the sealer that's in the hose will then drop to the bottom of the can. You don't want to leave that under pressure over the weekend or when it's really hot, because that'll turn into like a syrup in there. So basically, an hour ago, we put that in a can of xylene. There's sealer in there from yesterday, didn't touch it. And when we start, that tip will be perfect and we can start spraying, not an issue. When we're done, we release the pressure, hold the wand in the air for about 30 seconds, open it up and let all that drop, and we'll be ready for the next job, no issues. Okay, so they're just finishing up the job in the back. The way we have everything set up here, everything needs to be cleaned before we go to the next one. So there is a definite routine with this. Okay, he's going to go out and he's going to get everything dry out of that mixer. Okay, there's no water being put on anything until all the dry stuff comes out of there. No matter if it's the pile driver or the curb machine, everything's taken out dry, and then we go ahead and spray. Okay, sometimes we're close to a drain so we can wash everything out and it'll go into a drain. If not, we wash the mixer out, leave the water in there, and we can go ahead and dump it on a gravel road on the way to the next job or so on. Okay, but what's usually in that mixer is just dirty water because everything was cleaned out dry. Okay, all the pumps and all the water, we got water over there, we got 2 tanks on that with another pump, so we'll never run short of water. Never hook up to a house. We don't want to use their water. We don't know what kind of water they got. If they're on a farm, it could be hard water, calcium. There may not be hardly any pressure, or they may not have water at all, depending on where you're at on a property. You're doing a park or you're doing some of those things, you don't have access to water. So that's something that we've taken care of here without, we want to be totally self-sufficient. We should be able to go anywhere and be able to have everything with us that we need to do. Now this trailer after the next job is going to be empty. So on the third one we're going to do today, we'll pull up the next truck and trailer. He'll go ahead and start mixing on that because sand is an issue for us. You know, they can only do 600 feet. Okay, with this amount of guys and crew and the amount of work we have, we can't spend an hour and a half driving across town to fill up sand every day. In that hour and a half, we technically could do another job. So second truck, second trailer, and so on, and we can put down more footage in the same amount of time that we normally do. So that's kind of how we run things. We're going to go ahead and let this dry just a little bit as the guys are cleaning up, and I'll go ahead and seal it, and I'll do a little video on that. This is ready to be sealed. You can see how light that is. Anything that's a little damp right there is going to evaporate through the sealer, so it's not going to be an issue. If it's actually wet and you spray it on, because it's a solvent, it can actually run down the front and cut it. So what I do with anything stamped, and they're paying a lot of money for this, okay, there's hardly any cost as far as release, as far as color. It's just labor. So you don't want to skimp out on sealer. Okay, I'm going to hit this 3 times. All right, I'm going to do an angle on the back to make sure the back is good. I'm going to do an angle on the front, and then, you know, I'll do a one down the middle. I usually wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes in between each. That way it's a little tacky on top, so it'll accept the next coat. This is not about putting on heavy. If it's running down the front, you're putting on too much. Okay, thin coats, and get at least 3 of them on there. Okay, if you're only putting 1 on there and they're having trouble, you know, issues with color and all that stuff, it's probably because you didn't put enough on. Okay, so don't skimp out on that. That's something that you're getting paid for, so you need to do that.